Hi everyone, welcome back to the MNS Cards YouTube channel. My name is Michael. I am a full-time Pokemon card seller, and today I'm going to talk about my experience with TCG Player. And I'm going to talk about my frustrations, and maybe there's someone out there who does a lot of purchasing on TCG Player and they can give me some advice because I've just had not a great experience with them. And it's not so much about like the quality of cards. I mean, there were some issues with that, but it was just how do I handle this many orders coming in? So, a little bit of a backstory. For Black Friday last November, TCG Player had their 10% store credit special going on, and I decided that I was going to take advantage of that. So, I bought probably about 200 cards, and a lot of these cards were lower value cards, so people weren't sending them with tracked shipping. And I quickly realized that there's not a great way for me to keep track of which orders I've received and which ones I haven't. So, I ordered like 20 or 30 of the same card, and I was just getting stacks and stacks of them. And as they were coming in, I tried to keep the order slips that people were sending with the orders, so that way I could go back and I would double check with my order page and make sure that I've received all of them that I had. And then I started running into this, where this is a stack of all of the orders that I got in that did not include a packing slip. And not only did not include a packing slip, the return address was not the same name as it was on TCG Player. So I'm going through these and I just have all these envelopes, and I wrote down on the envelopes which card that was in each one or multiples. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go back and double check on my order page and make sure that I've and on my end marked it as received. Okay, well, if I'm missing 3 Charizards and I have 2 envelopes of Charizards that I know I've received, but the return shipping name doesn't match the name on TCG Player, how do I know that that's the one who I definitely received the card from? And then it's like, okay, is this my responsibility as a buyer to go in and double check all the orders? I think that if a seller includes the packing slip, it's my responsibility as a buyer that I should be able to track that and make sure that I'm not saying that items didn't arrive if the seller has done everything that they should and included the information that I need as a buyer to know that I can confirm receiving the card. And just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about, this is from TCG Player's YouTube channel directly.
The top loader in a team bag. Fold the packing slip and put the safely packed cards with the packing slip in a standard envelope or bubble mailer.
As you can see, that comes from TCG Player official YouTube page, and people weren't including that. And I know it doesn't say on TCG Player when you're packing orders that that's something that you should have to be doing, but as a buyer, it's super helpful that I am knowing which cards that I'm receiving as I receive them, especially when I have multiples coming in. I don't want to make any false item not received claims because that's not fair to the seller. But where is the balance between what's the responsibility as me as a buyer versus them as a seller? Is it their responsibility to include all that so that I can confirm that I have everything that I need? Or is it solely on the buyer that they should not be making any false claims, which I typically agree with that, but how do I need to be tracking my orders? And that seems like it's putting a lot of work on the buyer, and it takes so much time that it's almost not feasible to buy on TCG Player at this point until I come up with a better system. And what really sparked me to make this video is I just received a shipment in a plain white envelope that it would probably been lost in the mail, and I just got it in. I'm like, okay, wow, this is 2 months after Black Friday already, and I'm still having cards trickle in. I usually get like 1 or 2 a week for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's like, okay, these are still coming in. So I mean, we're at the point I probably should have been able to file an item not received claim, but is this really something that makes sense for me to do into the future? Or is this something as a business that I just need to realize that of these 200 or so orders that I placed, I'm just not going to get 1 to 3% of them every time. And it's not worth my dollars per hour to be tracking these, because a lot of these were lower value cards, so $2 to $3 coming in. And if I'm spending 8 to 10 hours to track all these orders, make sure that I'm getting them in, double checking that the packing slip matches what the order is, and then tracking down the ones that don't have a packing slip and making sure that I've received all the cards. Like, the amount of hours that I'm putting into just tracking this versus what I'm saving my money on and then contacting the seller and saying, hey, I haven't received these. It's such a time suck to maybe say, like, let's say 1% of the orders didn't come in of 200 orders. So 1% of 200 orders would be 2 orders. And let's say that the cards average $3 a piece. So that's $6. How much time am I going to invest into getting those $6 worth of cards back? And I never like doing math on the fly, so my numbers would have been a little off, but there's things that I can be doing that could be making me $30 an hour. So I don't want to go and have to track all these individual orders. So I think at this point, if I do continue to purchase off the TCG Player, the main thing that I'm going to do is just accept that there's going to be some amount of loss on the low dollar orders, and just accept that that's what it's going to be, and work that into my percentages of what I expect to make off of these, and just move on. And since I'm ranting about TCG Player, come on, TCG Player, how do you not accept tax exempt certificates? I contacted TCG Player and told them that I'm a reseller and I have my tax exempt certificate and I'd like to provide it. And their response was, yes, you need to contact your CPA so that you can reclaim your sales tax that you pay. And I mean, that's great. Like, just put more and more work on the customers of your site, but I just don't really like that business practice in general. Where I live, my sales tax percent is about 10%. So if I'm placing 200 orders and the average price is like $3 to $4 a card, let's just go with 3, and that is with shipping included. So, I mean, that's $600. I'm paying $60 in sales tax that I shouldn't be, because TCG Player won't accept the sales tax exempt form. And then I went and looked, and I'm in Kansas, so I have to go and file a form with the Department of Revenue with all of my sales tax that I've paid in. And when you go to TCG Player's my order history, like, there's not a great way to consolidate all of that down and get a number of saying, okay, I paid this much sales tax for these orders, and that way I can submit it to the state. Like, it's just a headache. And TCG Player is used by a lot of people in the hobby, and I like TCG Player for a lot of reasons, but there's just not a great way with this amount of low cost cards to get them in. And I realized I'm probably the exception. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are actually out there using the cards to play the game, and they don't need 30 or 40 of one card. Like, they need a play set of 4 or 3 or whatever it is, and they're able to get that in and no issues. So I realize I'm probably the exception. TCG Player doesn't need to cater towards me or people who are using their website to buy to make money, and that's fine. I totally understand that. I just venting a little bit, and I wish that TCG Player had better ways for me to use their website. So with that, I've got things to do. I'm sure you do too. I appreciate your time and hope you have a good one. Thanks.